Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just eating from the picture that I took my thumbnail with. We'll see if it gets used or not. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. Today I have a Wingstop feast because why? It's Wednesday. That's why we eat wings on Wednesday. So, I have some fries, just our regular seasoning, Hawaiian boneless. These are boneless wings. Hawaiian boneless, garlic parmesan. And then here I have mango habanero, which are my favorite. And then I also have some plain ones because I want to dip them in this cheese sauce. I've never had their cheese sauce like on their own. I've had it on their fries, but not on its own. I have some blue cheese and ranch. I forget which one is which. I think this one's blue cheese. And then I have some Cajun corn. And you guys, I promised to baby Jesus that I ordered celery and carrots, and they forgot them. So I had this delivered again today, but oh well. I'm also going to be doing a true crime, but first I'm going to eat. I had to wait to film this because the landscapers showed up and they were making a bunch of racket. Okay. Let's get a plain one. Damn, that's big. Let's see if we can find a smaller one. Here we go. I like these ones. Look at that. Not bad, not bad. I feel like I want it to be spicy though. I have the red Powerade in here. I think it's fruit punch. Grab a corn. Let me know how you guys are doing in the comments. Thank you guys so much for all of the nice comments you guys have been sending me, especially on the video that I did with Sophia. You guys are so sweet to me. I was thinking about doing a different place for wings, but I was just craving Wingstop today. It's as simple as that. So good. Garlic parmesan. Put it in ranch. They were not skimpy on the cheese today. Look at that. It's like covered in cheese. If you guys haven't tried their corn, if you like corn, I suggest. If you haven't tried Wingstop, because I see a lot of people, they say that they've never tried Wingstop. I mean, I understand if you don't have one close by you or in your state, but you guys got to try it, man. The only thing is, I wish that they had more variety of flavors like Buffalo Wild Wings. So like over the summer, they came out with, I think it was 3 new flavors, but they're not on the menu anymore. And a couple of them I remember liking. Because I pretty much order the same thing because they don't have that big of a variety. Alright. Should we talk true crime? Okay. Now this true crime is, it's not really sad. I actually just found out about it yesterday. And I was like, oh my God, I need to tell that in my next true crime. Because it just boggles my mind how somebody could do this. So, nobody was hurt. Well, somebody was hurt, but nobody died. And it's just crazy. Okay? It's a kidnapping. This happened in Australia back in 2008. And I heard it from the podcast called Case File, and it's episode number 7. So if you guys like podcasts, and actually, you know what? I think he has a YouTube channel. And it pretty much does this, like it replays the podcast. I think. Don't quote me on that, but. Oops, put a hair. That's where I first heard this case. And so I was like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, I need to tell this on my channel. So when I got home, because I usually listen to podcasts in my car, and then if they're really good, I'll like put my AirPods in and listen to it at home while I'm doing chores or something. And so I get home and I'm trying to find information on this case, and everything that's popping up is basically directing me to the podcast that I listen to. There were a few like news articles that I found, but I think because it happened in Australia, that could be why there's limited information, or maybe I just didn't look far back in the Google pages to find anything. But so the majority of my information I got from Case File. Okay, so this happened in Australia back in 2008. A 25-year-old by the name of Julian Bushwald, I think that's how you say it, and his 17-year-old girlfriend, Caroline Watson, they end up getting kidnapped. So what happened was on March 4th, they were heading out towards a picnic. They were supposed to be on Julian's family's property, but they never returned home. Now, Julian had permission from his girlfriend's parents to take her on this romantic picnic. They were supposed to like walk to a waterfall. There was going to be like a homemade platter, because he's a timber logger. But he like made a homemade platter, and there were supposed to be sandwiches on it, and just a romantic getaway for a picnic. But when they didn't show back up, her parents and his parents became worried. Not so much his parents because he was an adult. But they became worried. And they filed a missing persons report with the police. All right. So Julian, he's 25 years old. He's a timber logger. He was born in Germany, and then at the age of 1, his family decided to immigrate to Australia. So he was born in Germany, but he was raised Australian. He lived in Australia. He had a permanent residency visa, I think. A permanent resident visa. He had a younger sister. I can't remember if she was younger or older, but he had a sister who was born in Australia. So she's an Australian citizen. But his parents had gone out to Germany because they have relatives there. His parents had gone to Germany and ended up giving birth to Julian while they were in Germany. So he's a Germany citizen. Now, him and Caroline, they met at church. And yes, she is quite a bit younger than him. But their relationship was not intimate. I can't say the S word on YouTube because a few of my videos have gotten demonetized because of that, or anything relating to that. So if I'm not as in detailed in the next upcoming true crimes, that is why. But I will try to go as much in detail as I can. But I might be like insinuating certain things that I cannot say. Okay, so I hope you guys can understand that. So their relationship was not intimate. She wanted to wait until marriage, and she didn't want to get married until, well, first, she couldn't get married until she was 18. But she was still in school. And she didn't want to get married until, even if she was 18, she didn't want to get married until after she was done with school. Now, at the time of that they went missing, they had been dating for 2 years already. And they had also met with their pastor. And their pastor said, you know, why don't you guys take a break? Because Julian really wanted to get married. He was pressuring her to get married, like, as soon as she turned 18. He wanted to marry her. So when they went missing, they met with the pastor, and they didn't seem like the type that would run away, but, you know, that was like in the back of their heads that maybe they did run away to elope, and that's why they didn't come back. But anyway, they put out missing persons report, and for a whole week they were missing. Their banks weren't being used, their car was never found, they were never spotted for a whole week. And during this week, there was more reason to have concern that something had happened to them, because Caroline's parents received a note that said something to the lines of, I have your daughter, don't go to the police, or we will get rid of her, we will kill her. And then there was also like a satanic symbol. So investigators thought that maybe there was like some sort of cult that was responsible for this. And the letter also insinuated that this was happening for revenge towards the parents. So they had done something. It didn't state specifically what, but they had done something to cause this to happen. So investigators were, you know, they had that going on. They had search parties in the area that Julian and Caroline were supposed to be picnicking, but they couldn't find anything. And yeah, they were missing for a week. Now, after that week, a farmer is driving along a remote area at Alpine National Park, which is about 6 hours away. And that's when he sees them. He sees Julian and Caroline. They come out of the bush. And Alpine Park is like this vast, just huge. I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, national park in Australia. But there's a lot of brush or bush, whatever they call it. I'm not sure exactly what that is. But they come out of the bush and they're like half naked. They look just like they've been through hell. And the farmer takes them to the police station where detectives right away want to interview them and ask what happened. So Caroline, she tells the detectives her account of what happened, and she said they were driving along, heading towards the area where they were going to be picnicking, and then that's when Julian said he needed to step out. He pulled over to the side of the road. Sorry, I have corn in my teeth. He pulled over to the side of the road and said he needed to go check on some trap or something that he had put out for animal. So he went to go check on it to see the carcass or whatever it was. And he had been gone for a while, and she was in the passenger side of the car. And then after a while, she thought to herself, you know, he's been gone for a while. And just as she was thinking that, somebody came up to her passenger side of the car and attacked her, got her, hogtied her up, blindfolded her, and threw her in the back of the car. And she said she remembers driving for hours and hours until eventually they came to a stop, and she heard what sounded like a shovel digging up dirt. So she thought for sure, like, this was it. She was gonna die. You know, he's probably gonna do something to me and then die. And then she heard the shoveling stop. And then that's when the kidnapper pulled out a knife, and she's still tied up. He pulled out a knife and started cutting off her clothes. And so she's like, okay, this is it. He's going to do this to me, and then he's going to kill me, and then, you know, bury me. Like, this is it. So she started praying to God. She was just praying and praying and praying and praying. She was praying out loud. And then all of a sudden, as if God answered her prayers, the kidnapper stops everything. And then just leaves, and it's silent. Nothing. And she's afraid, like, he's gonna come back or something. And then all of a sudden, she hears Julian. And Julian's side is saying, you know, the kidnapper did the same thing to him. He tried to fight back. He said there was 2 men. He got hit over the head. So he had blood on his face. And then he passed out. He said he was coughing up blood. But when he came to, he started calling out for Caroline. And that's when Caroline heard him calling for her, and she's like, Julian, is that you? And he was, I think she said it was like about 2 meters away from her. And this was in the middle of the night. And Julian was able to find his way to Caroline. So they're together, and they realize that the kidnapper had left the knife there. So they used teamwork, and they were able to cut themselves free. Now, as soon as they cut themselves free, remember they're both like half naked. Well, she's naked. And So they're able to get free, and that's when they leave because they know that the kidnapper is going to come back. And remember, this is a national forest, and so they easily got turned around. Nights were cold. They were trying to stay warm. It was hot during the day. They had no protection for their skin from the sun. So it was reported that when the farmer found them, they were all blistered and sunburnt really bad. And they had no food. And that's what investigators were like, you know, how did you last a week with no food? And all of the harsh elements. And that's when they said that they had eventually got turned around and they found their way back to where the kidnapper was digging the hole. And that's when they found that he had buried their backpack that had all of their picnicking stuff. Sorry, it's kind of hard to tell when you're eating sometimes. So they had made their way back, and then they found the backpack, and there was some extra change of clothes, and there was some food in there. So they were able to survive off of that. And so they were out there like trying to find their way out for a week because they didn't know where they were. So, when investigators were done getting their account of what happened, they go back to Alpine National Park. And luckily, they're able to find the area where everything happened, where the backpack was buried. They were even able to find her car. The kidnapper had hidden the car not too far from where the site was. So they were able to gather everything that was left. There was a shovel. There was a ski mask. You know, they gathered everything at the site and they took it in for DNA testing. And they're like, okay, we're going to catch this guy. Now, this is when I'm like, okay, who was it? You guys will never believe who it was. If you know the story, then you most likely already know, obviously. So when I first heard this, I was like, it was the pastor. It had to have been the pastor, right? It came back, the DNA came back to be a match for Julian Bushwald. And so I'm thinking, like, how? So when DNA evidence came back, this is when Julian, like, starts making up these crazy stories about a satanic cult, and it was 2 kidnappers, and just stuff that didn't make sense. It didn't add up to the evidence. And eventually, he caves in and tells his story of why he kidnapped his girlfriend, his own girlfriend, who he wanted to get married to. So, from the moment that Julian and Carolyn had became boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, he had been pressuring her to get married as soon as she turned 18, like pressuring her. So he concocted this whole plan to try and get her to sleep with him. Like, are you kidding me? To try and get her to sleep with him. Because she was, you know, she was a Christian. She was a devoted Christian, and she wasn't going to do that before marriage. And she didn't want to get married until after she was done with her school, whether she was 18 or not. Well, you have to be 18 to get married, but at least I think in Australia. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. So what happened was, when he pulled off to the side of the road, in that same spot, he had been there the day before, and he had hidden away a backpack of a change of clothes to change into, a black hoodie, a ski mask, and some camo pants. And there was a knife in there and the shovel. And so when he pulled off to the side of the road, that's where he went. And he was changing into the clothes, you know, getting everything. And then that's when he went up and attacked his girlfriend and kidnapped her. Drove all the way to Alpine National Forest. And then, after he took her clothes off, and then left abruptly, he took off his clothes, buried his stuff, and tied himself up too. And then that's when he pretended to fake to be kidnapped as well. So the whole time that they were there, they were running from a suspected kidnapper. And the whole time the kidnapper was her boyfriend. Oh, that just gives me the chills. It's like a movie. It's like something you see at a movie. It's like, how does somebody think to do that? And so his thing was, because they were out in the elements and she was naked without clothes, he thought that she was going to cave in and sleep with him by having to stay warm. And so he would persuade her and say, you know, why don't we just get married right now under the eyes of God? We don't have to be in a church, you know. We need to do it to stay alive. And she still said no, that God would not approve and her parents would not approve. So she still said no. She still stuck to her beliefs, which is good for her, you know. So he was arrested and charged for kidnapping and making a false report. But he got out on bail. So by the time it was time for him to show up to court, he was nowhere to be found. So what had happened was he had got himself a passport, a fake passport. He dyed his hair, darkened his skin. So I'm assuming he like did tanning spray or something, or maybe he did blackface. I don't know. I didn't say exactly how he darkened his skin, but he got a passport to India, and he ended up making it to India. But it wasn't too long before he was caught and then extradited back to Australia. And his plan was to eventually make it over to Germany because he has distant relatives there. So he was brought back and he was convicted and charged. He was charged and convicted with not only kidnapping and making a false report, but also jumping bail. And he ended up serving 5 years and 3 months. Isn't that crazy? It's sick to think what people would, the extent that people would go to sleep with somebody, you know, or to get somebody to sleep with them. There's got to be some issues. Oh yeah, it was found that he did have some issue with his brain making cognitive choices. I forget exactly what it said, but it wasn't anything like too serious to be useful in court to help his case. So he gets out of prison. And remember, he's not an Australian citizen. So when he gets out of prison, his Australian permanent residency visa is revoked. And he tried to fight it. He tried to say, you know, he has jobs lined up. He's lived there his whole life. He's pretty much Australian. He just never pursued becoming an Australian citizen. But the judge said, nope, you know, the law is the law. He went by the law, and he revoked his permanent residency and sent him back to Germany, where he has family, but he doesn't speak the language. And yeah, so isn't that crazy? A part of me was thinking, like, what if he really wasn't there just to sleep with her? Like, that seems like a lot of trouble to go through just to get somebody to sleep with you. Like, what if he really was planning on murdering her? But when she started praying, it kind of like something clicked in him, was like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, you know. What if I get caught? You know, because it's easier to say, I guess it was easier to say that you got kidnapped and that happened and somebody else did it. Blame it on somebody else. I don't know. That was my first thought. Like, how do you just kidnap your girlfriend and like tie her up and everything like that? I don't know. I mean, I'm glad like he didn't force himself on her. And well, I mean, that's up for debate, but you know, she is still a virgin, essentially. But yeah, I don't know. It's so crazy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And yeah. That's a big potato. A big fry. Alright, I'm gonna have one more. Get all the cheese at the bottom. That's the best part. Of blue cheese is getting all the cheese at the bottom. Messier. Messier than I wanted it to be. These will not go to waste, you guys. Typically, the food that I buy never goes to waste. Jose will come home, or the kids when they get home from school. It all eventually gets eaten. So don't think that, you know, all of what I don't eat just gets thrown in the garbage, because we don't waste food around here. We try our best not to waste food. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not yet an A-lister and you like what you saw here, please consider subscribing so you can become an A-lister. Hit that notification bell. Make sure it's set to all so you know the second that I upload a new video. Leave me a comment down below. Rate this video. Share it with your friends. And I will see you guys really soon with a new video. Bye.